Hello and welcome to the subjunctive mood. This is a presentation informing and the general usage of the subjunctive mood in Spanish. This first part will take you through the formation of the present tense and the past tense subjunctive. Also give a short introduction as to what the differences are between the subjunctive mood and the indicative mood, which you've been using up till this point in Spanish, most likely. Up until now, you most likely have been working in the indicative mood. This is a mood or mode, not a tense. This mood describes definite actions that happen in the present, such as yo como pollo frito, happening right now. In the past, yo comí pollo frito. Unlike the indicative mood, the subjunctive mood describes an action that potentially may happen. It is not describing something that is happening now, as in the sentences above, or which happened before. The subjunctive mood describes something that may happen which may or may not actually happen in the present or in the past. It is also a way of giving a very subjective or personal opinion or judgment or thought on something. So, for example, in the present tense subjunctive, yo quiero que tú comas pollo frito. I want you to eat fried chicken. Yo quiero, I want, definitely is something that's happening right now. But it's not happening right now that you are eating fried chicken. It's something that I want to happen. It potentially may happen, but it's not something that's happening right now. So the subjunctive has to be used. In the past tense, yo quise que tú comieras pollo frito. I wanted you to eat fried chicken. The past indicative indicates it's something that I wanted. And since I wanted it, it may or may not have happened, then the past tense subjunctive is used. This actually communicates more of the fact that I wanted you to eat the chicken, not necessarily communicating the fact that you are eating chicken. Here are the forms of the subjunctive. Before we learn the usage, we must learn the forms that we'll be working with. Think of it as learning the mechanics or the nuts and bolts before assembling the machine. For all but 6 verbs in Spanish, we can apply a simple 3-step process with which to construct the forms. Step 1. Start with the yo form of the verb in the present tense. This applies to all 3 conjugations, er, ar, and ir. Yo hablo. Yo como. Yo vivo. So we start with the yo form of the verb, and if we are careful to begin with this step, verbs with irregular stems and the yo forms will be included and will not be considered irregular in the subjunctive. Let's take a look at a few verbs. Conocer, conozco. Decir, digo. Dormir, duermo. Hacer, hago. Oír, oigo. Pedir, pido. Perder, pierdo. Querer, quiero. Tener, tengo. Entraer, traigo. Venir, vengo. And ver, veo. Notice that all of these are the yo forms of the verbs. Notice how they've changed. For example, in the yo verbs, decir and hacer, and tener, and traer, and venir, and oír, use the yo forms. Some of them, such as vowel changing, like dormir, perder, querer, they change in the middle if they're vowels. This is going to happen in the first person singular. So we start with the yo. So let's take hablo, como, and vivo, and let's take off the ending, the yo ending from each of them. In the next step, we add the opposite endings. So for AR verbs, we add ER verb endings. We keep the stem. We add A for hable, es for hables, e for hable, hemos for hablemos, en for hablen. Notice that the first and third person singular forms are identical. Context in speaking or writing will tell which one is being used. For the ER and IR verbs, we add AR verb endings to both, so we're actually using the opposite endings. We keep the com from como, add the a, coma, comas, coma, comamos, coman. And then for vivir, yo vivo, take off the o, viva, vivas, viva, vivamos, and vivan. Again, first and third person singular forms are identical. Stem changing AR and ER verbs have the same stem changes as in the present indicative. Let's look at recordar, which is an O to UE verb change, vowel change. Yo recuerdo, take off the O, put the opposite vowel, and since this is an AR verb, we use ER endings. Yo recuerde, tú recuerdes, él o ella recuerde, recordemos, recuerden, and let's take a look at an E to IE, such as perder. Yo pierdo, take off the O, and since this is an ER verb, add the opposite ending, which would be an A. Yo pierda, tú pierdas, él pierda, nosotros perdamos, and pierdan. Remember, however, that stem changes do not apply to the nosotros form, because just like in the indicative, nosotros does not change the stem. With yo verbs, such as digo and vengo and traigo and tengo, the yo form, since it's a completely different form of the verb, we'll keep that in the nosotros form. Digamos, tengamos, vengamos. You may recall the third person singular and plural changes that occur in the preterite of stem changing IR verbs. Remember in the preterite of the indicative when we had dormir, and we had to say yo dormí, dormiste, durmió. Only the first vowel of the vowel change was retained. And then dormimos and durmieron. The same changes occur in the nosotros form of the subjunctive. Duerma, duermas, duerma, durmamos, duerman. Notice the U is retained in the nosotros form in the present subjunctive, just the way the U was kept in the third person singular and plural of the indicative preterite. These changes occur only in the stem changing IR verbs. Let's take a look at an E to IE verb change. Mentir. In the preterite, mentí, mentiste, mintió, mentimos, mintieron. Notice that, just like with dormir, the E to IE vowel change, you remember happens in the L and eos form in the preterite. In the present subjunctive, mienta, because we take yo miento, we do the vowel change. Mientas, mienta, mintamos, mientan. Notice where the vowel changes. And let's take a look at servir, an E to I vowel change. In the preterite, serví, serviste, sirvió, servimos, sirvieron. Notice in the IR stem changing verbs from E to I, the vowel is retained. Remember that from the preterite and the indicative. So this happens in nosotros in the present subjunctive. Yo sirva, tú sirvas, él sirva, nosotros sirvamos, ustedes sirvan. The following spelling changes occur in all forms of the present subjunctive with the verbs whose infinitives end in car, gar, and zar. You remember this. The same thing happens when we have to change the ar endings to e in order to keep the k sound in car, g sound in gar, and the z sound in sar. Car, in order to keep the c sound, k, changes to qu in front of an e. Buscar, for example. Busco, yo busco, take off the o, but, and put the opposite vowel, you have to change the c to qu. Otherwise it would be buse. So busque, busques, busco, busquemos, busquen. For gar, in order to keep the g sound in front of an e ending, we have to change to gu. Take llegar. Llego, take off the o, put the opposite vowel a. Llegue. If we didn't, it would be llege. It would soften the g. Llegues, llegue, lleguemos, lleguen. With zar, we have to change to a c in front of that, in front of the ending. Empezar, empiezo, take off the o, put an a, empiece, empieces, empiece, empecemos, empiecen. There are only 6 truly irregular verbs, that is, verbs to which we cannot apply our 3-step process and which have to be memorized. When listed in the following order, the initial letters of each verb form the acronym DISHES, a useful memory device. Dar is conjugated, ir is conjugated differently, ser is conjugated differently, haber, estar, and saber. Dar is conjugated yo de, tú des, él de, nosotros demos, ustedes den. Yo vaya, tú vayas, él vaya, nosotros vayamos, ustedes vayan. Yo sea, tú seas, él sea, nosotros seamos, ustedes sean. Yo haya, tú hayas, él haya, nosotros hayamos, ustedes hayan. Yo esté, tú estés, él esté, nosotros estemos, ustedes estén. Yo sepa, tú sepas, él sepa, nosotros sepamos, ustedes sepan. Notice the accents in dar and estar, which must be present. The formation of the past tense subjunctive is somewhat similar 3-step process as it was with the present tense. So let's learn the mechanics before we learn the usage of this, and this is the nuts and bolts that assemble the machine. For all verbs in Spanish, we can apply a simple 3-step process to which to construct the past tense subjunctive forms. We start with the eos form of the verb in the preterite tense indicative. This applies to all 3 conjugations, ar, er, and ir. Let's take hablar as we did before with the present tense, but now let's look at the eos preterite indicative. Hablaron, comieron, vivieron. We take the eos form of the verb in the preterite and we apply to all 3 as we did before. So we take the third person in the past tense, and you must get the third person preterite right form in order to begin the conjugation of the past subjunctive. Conocer is conocieron. Decir, dijeron. Dormir, durmieron. Hacer, hicieron. Oír, oyeron. Pedir, pidieron. Perder, perdieron. Querer, quisieron. Tener, tuvieron. traer, trajeron, ver, vieron, venir, vinieron. We use the same examples as we did before with the present tense. This is what you would be using to form the past tense subjunctive, the third person plural preterite indicative forms. So we take those third person, hablaron, comieron, vivieron, take off and drop the RON endings, keep that stem, and to this we're going to add RA, a ra ending, for all verb classes. So we have habla, we would have hablara, hablaras, hablara, habláramos with an accent, hablarán, hablaran. Notice that the first and third person singular forms are identical. Also notice that these are always accented in the nosotros form. Since this applies to all AR, ER, and IR verbs in the past subjunctive, there are no irregulars. Continue on now to the next presentation for the rules of using the subjunctive. They will be presented in the order that they appear in the Exploraciones textbook.